Hi everyone, SoulSurfer17 here. Let me through as usual. I do not own the picture. This is not a paid video. Alright, okay. So, basically, here's the thing. I'm currently in the Persona 5 game. I'm back to making this what if. Yay. Took me a while because I kind of fell asleep in the, while I was falling asleep when I was trying to make the video last time. So, I decided, to basically make it today, and, well, I'm going to try to basically remember, well, basically some characters' names. So, for this part, we're just going to be focusing on, well, the first, basically, this palace, because I already got basically the third palace, which in the game I'm already on. So, if I'm basically pausing, because I'm basically in a, cutscene, and I'm just, reading some stuff. But, yeah, well, let's just get this started. So, quick, just rundown. So, Izuku found out there had a palace/jail. They met Sophia, or Sophie, from Persona Strikers, the, humanity's companion. And, well, Joker, or, I forgot his basically actual name, but, character Joker. Basically, had Ryuji, basically not Yosuke. I need to remember real quick. Okay, turns out I was right. Yosuke. So he met Yosuke, Ryoji, the human, basically, and, well, Anne, and I think Makoto, and, not the last video, but a couple of video ago, and basically, he had, like I did say, they found out about Endeavor had, jail, and basically, palace, and basically they went there, and basically, female Todoroki, Shoka, they met the shadow version of her. So, in a sense, basically, it wasn't really much of anything that happened besides just that, and then they had to leave. So, we're basically are starting off because Izuku fought the Nomu, Deku fought the Nomu, and basically he pushed himself to his limits. He used the air current to bring up the rocks and then launch it to make it seem like he was earthbending. Because I remember there was no earth element in the game. So yeah. But anyways, we'll start off when he's waking up. So I got basically the game. I'm in the compendium now. Oh, I'm 94 almost complete. Huh. I just need to get a couple of basically new compendiums. Alright. Ignore me on that one. So, okay. So in a sense, we're having Izuku waking up. He's like, my head. Which, basically, he's holding it up slowly. Then he hears, basically, Recovery Girl saying, you're awake. Good. Wait, I just realized something. I need to do something real quick. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. I just had to check something was good for tomorrow for me. I'll explain that probably tomorrow or Thursday, what if. But anyways, so, what happens is basically, after Recovery Girl says, you're awake. Which Izuku's basically, open his eyes, basically, and he's just blinking. He's like, wait, aren't you Recovery Girl? Which she goes, uh-huh. Which basically is like, let me guess, I passed out due to blood loss, maybe? And basically she says, and overworking yourself? You're very badly injured. You're lucky to still be alive. I don't know how that's even possible, since someone would have died from your standpoint. He goes, how bad was it? She goes, broken bones, fracture, basically puncture wound, basically due to the metal bar that went right through your side. Slight concussion. To be frank, I mean, I was surprised there was no internal bleeding, but you're just one lucky kid to be alive. Now then, don't do nothing stupid like that again. I had to use a lot of basically my, quirk basically just to heal you. But somehow you were basically stable. Which Izuku would just nod slowly. He's just thinking, okay, wherever that thing was, I mean, I know it's not human, it was a Nomu, but how strong was it? Which basically, before he can think anymore, Recover Girl says, now then, let me tell your friends to come on in. So, as soon as basically she says that, Jiro, basically Kirishima, and Bakugo run in, and, well, Shoka basically walks in. Kirishima goes, Izuku, bro! Bakugo actually says, Izuku! For once, which that kind of makes him blink a bit. And Jiro just, says basically, well, Izuku too, which, well, basically Shoka looks at him and just nods. Which, well, he knows she has a downcast, well, it's out of expression on her face. Which, Izuku's like, hey guys, sorry to give you guys a quick scare. Which Bakugo's like, Izuku, never do that again. Which, he looks at Kirishima, which he says he's worried about you and he stops saying deku for now. So he just nods. So, Jiro's like, you idiot, you know what happened if you didn't basically even won? He goes, died, been killed? Just, yes. Which he just has a faint smile and goes like, well, I mean, then I'll just refuse to die until I win. Which Chiro just looks at him a little bit angry, but then Kirishima just sighs. I'm like, come on, man. I mean, you can't do that. Which Izuku just sighs and goes like, I know. Besides, I probably need to basically, I could do so much more if I didn't help back at first. Which basically Kirishima knows the truth, but yeah. Which Jiro just says, next time don't do something so idiotic and stupid, which Shoka even agrees. But like, everyone's been worried about you. Only basically a few people could have saw you. Kirishima wouldn't leave nor with Bakugo. And I was on my way here until basically Kirishima goes like, until Endeavor came into the hallway and started talking to her. Which basically Izuku immediately gets up and basically leans forward and goes like, what was it? What did he say? Which Jiro just sighs and she then says, he's gonna take Shoka out of basically UA after basically the sports festival. That's how long it will take for the paperwork to be finished. He said he'll start it this weekend. Which basically Izuku's eyes widen, and then basically Ryoji, the cat, comes up and basically, well, let's only say where Izuku or Kirishima can hear. He goes, then we don't have much time then, do we? Which Izuku doesn't acknowledge, but Ryoji understands. Which basically Jiro's like, it's like your cat's trying to say something. He goes like, yeah, the little guy does say something sometimes. I mean, that's what I think every time he's basically meowing. Which Kirishima just chuckles. So he looks at Recovery Girl and she doesn't, she just looks at him and goes like, let me guess, you want to know if you can leave? He does not. She goes, well, since your injuries are alright and you have plenty of rest, yes, you can go. Which Izuku basically nods. And basically he gets up and stretches. He goes, now then, if I didn't go home basically fully rested and had no injuries, my doctor would basically kill me. Which basically Recovery Girl looks at him and was like, oh? Why? She just said, she is completely paranoid of me sometimes when when basically I overtrain myself. Which she's like, how basically much have you trained yourself? He goes like, to the point where basically I could be sleeping outside for a good hour or so. Which basically she's not asking no more questions. So she just tells Izuku and them to get out. So basically Kirishima gave him his bag, and then basically he goes like, oh, by the way, your mom's here. Which he stops and he's like, crap, I'm screwed. Which all of a sudden basically Futaba and Sojiro comes out of nowhere. And, well, she's like, Izuku, what did I tell you about overdoing it? He's like, not to. And he goes, and you overdid it. He goes, well, my teacher wasn't there, All Might wasn't there. I mean, someone had to. Besides, my friend was basically in danger, so I wasn't going to leave them to die. Which she just sighs, and basically Sojiro just kind of chuckles to be like, you very are basically protected over your friends. He goes, yeah, have to be. So, basically, he would not do that. And, well, I want to say this. Basically, though, he looks at, Futabo's looking at him, and basically he's like, Mom? She goes, you have that look in your eye, you're about to do something I'm not gonna like. Which he's like, yeah, probably, maybe, I don't know. Which then before she could say anything else, Aizawa comes over and goes like, hello there, problem child. He's like, Aizawa-sensei? And, Paolo-sensei? Which Paolo was like, uh-huh. He had basically some papers for homework. You had to build something in 2 weeks. Well, for the sports festival. I basically had some things basically you can use, like your portable 3D printer. Which, that just makes Aizawa just kind of confused, which he is, you know those basically those wristbands around his wrists that he wears on his hero costume? Which is just normal clothing. I think it was normal clothing. Well, sometime. Which Zuko's like, I gotta work on, I gotta make myself a new outfit. It was completely ruined, which he just nod. Because that's also an assignment I'm giving you to work on an actual suit to actually defend yourself, protect yourself in. He's like, got it. So, basically I was like, okay, talk about the 3D printer, basically portable what? Which Izuku just says, I take basically the air molecules, like, you can say pollution or something, that we have in the air sometimes, or just air molecules, and I just can make something out of it. It's a combination between taking the metals and such from it and then basically making something from it. It basically depends on how much it'll take. It can take over basically for like 2 minutes or 2 seconds to basically a minute. So basically just as I was like, okay, how smart are you? He's like, pretty smart. Which basically Paolo just snorts at that. Which basically he says, anyways, get going basically whatever you're doing, and don't forget basically you have no class for, well, as I always says, I was just about to tell him, you have no class for the next 2 weeks. Alright? Which he nods, but basically says, but in 3, basically, starting next week, that's when you don't have to come in. It's like, alright. Also, which he just looks, goes, we're having someone coming into the school. A counselor to help out, basically, Hound Dog. He's basically, he may be old, but he's basically well-liked from basically his previous jobs. Nezu found him and such, very quickly. Which, he just blinked, he's like, okay. So, basically, Izuku and basically Kirishima, Bakugo, Jiro, and Choka are leaving along with Futaba and Sojiro. So, basically, Izuku basically, looking at basically Shoka. He's like, "Hey, Todoroki, is everything all right?" She goes, "No, I just have this weird app on my phone. I've been trying to get it off, but the more times I try to delete it, it keeps on coming back. It's weird." Which Izuku and Kirishima look at each other and look at basically her, and basically they see, well, the app that they got on their phone, which Izuku just looking basically, at her and back at Kirishima, and then they both nod. Basically, though, they're basically Futaba sees that look, and like, well, looks like they're gonna try to get another, basically Persona user on their side, which basically Jiro and Baku are just way confused. Which, well, Izuku's like, "Hey, Todoroki, mind if we come back to your place? We gotta tell you something." Which she's like, sure." Which Baku and Jiro, like, look at it, and it was like, "Oh no," Baku says, "You are going home," and Futaba says, "I already talked to Recovery Girl about it. He says he's going to move around, but he has to take it easy." Which Izuku's like whistling, basically to himself. And, well, she says, "But I can't," he's allowed to basically go and hang out with people. So, which Izuku just smirks. So what happens is this. Basically, Mojiro and Bako try to persuade him not to, but he's basically being determined about this. And basically Futaba just tells him to be careful, which he does not. So, basically, Kirishima and basically, well, Zuko or Deku basically are going with Shoka, which she's asking, like, "Why do you want me to come with me home?" Azuka just sighs and says, "We may be able to find a way on, well, the reason why your father wanted you to leave the UA and such, along with why he's acting so strangely about everything." Which Shoka just kind of basically look at him confused, but then a little bit angry, goes like, "What do you mean? And how are you going to find out?" Which basically Kirishima just says, "No offense to you, Todoroki, just calm down and we'll basically explain everything later, alright?" She just sighs and like, "Fine. If I don't like it, I'm basically gonna," well, he goes, "What's the worst you can do? Ignore us? Call the cops?" Izuku says. She goes, eh. True, can't really call the cops. Fine. So, when they basically get to her house, she's about to walk towards the front, towards the door to basically walk the pathway towards it, her house. But Izuku says, "Nuh-uh." But she's like, "Wait, what do you mean?" He goes, "Just hold up and watch." Then all of a sudden they activate the metaverse app. The app they say that allows them to go to the palace. When the scenery changed, Todoroki basically eyes wide because she sees a Shogun basically palace. But then there's like at the top floor of basically the palace, there's like a jail around it with basically bars going towards like different sections, like the three corners. One of them is already gone. She's like, what is this?" And then Ryuji or Sly says, "Easy, this is a palace." And then Sophie says, "And also a jail." But she just looks like, "Wait, hey, raccoon, fox, cat?" He goes, "Cat." And then he's just like, she goes, "Hello, I'm Sophia, humanity's companion." But she's like, and then basically Izuku and Kirishima are in there basically, remember, basically white hair, basically, gray t-shirt, basically no sleeves, ripped pants, basically chain around his arm, well, wrist and such. Well, chain around his arm, along with basically chains on his pants and basically boots, rip up jeans. Kirishima, basically spike, basically boots, ripped up pants, basically. Also, red shirt. I don't really remember what I basically gave him. But I rather give him. I decided to change it to a red shirt, which Izuku was like, "You changed your shirt?" Which he goes, "Don't know how I did it. Just saw basically I didn't notice it have color, so." True. Basically, nice, basically, well, vest on it. There we go, vest. Like jean vest around you. Basically, he goes, "Yeah. Thought I'd basically bring it with me." Turns out, basically, I just had to equip it on basically to my stats, and he goes, right, basically on our leveling system we have equipment. He goes, uh-huh. So we basically can change the shirts and such, and we get different properties to it. Well, I didn't think of that. He was like, honestly, the truth. All I know is basically I can get some items and such, and basically they help out and everything, along with our weapons and gear. It was true. Basically Kirishima just has his, well, basically mallet. I think I basically made him have the mallet. So, basically, which just she's just like basically Shoka's like, what the heck? What the hell? Which basically Deku's like, so how do you like our looks? Basically Kirishima's basically member, Mohawk, spiked. When she's like, just what happened to you guys and why you guys look so weird? He goes like, well, I'll have to explain. And after they explained everything, she was like, I see. Why is my father like this? And this is the second palace you've been to? He goes like, yep. We think you could be a persona user, so we wanted you to basically, come with us and try to see if we can activate it. And also, we want to know a few things, so this kind of helps us. She goes, what do you mean by a few things? Which Izuku basically takes out basically a picture and shows it to her, and she basically eyes wide, goes, this is a picture of my family before I was born. And he goes like, who's like a kid with the red hair? He goes, that's Toya. Which basically Izuku just blinks along Kirishima. He's like, Toya? Seriously? She nods. He takes out the picture and puts it away and basically says, well, this is one of the key items that basically were holding the basically jail in place. Those basically chains. Which basically she's just way more confused. He goes, come on. Well, I mean, we can get around everything pretty easily. And by the way, when it comes to fighting, we don't know if your quirk will work very much with it. But you can try and see. Maybe until you get your persona work only then. But she's like, okay. So, basically Sophia says, don't worry, we'll protect you. Right, Ryuji? Which basically Ryuji the cat nods. He goes, and wait, Sophie, it's basically, Sly. He's Fane, and he's Jaws, which she looks at them and goes, code names. They both say it exactly at the same time. She just nods slowly. So, basically, they go through the palace. Basically, the leveling's basically being pretty quickly because, basically Kirishima finally got to level 30, catching up to Izuku. Izuku basically just smirking at that along for, Ryuji and because, like I said, Sophie's level 99, so everything she has. So basically, while more they go through, basically Todoroki notices a few things. She notices there's basically pictures of basically Endeavor's life and such. And then there's basically pictures that are basically destroyed or, gone. And so they would get to the second, basically, chain. Which, basically what happens is, well, like this. They basically see, Fuyumi basically standing there in basically a samurai slash, ninja, shinobi outfit, which she goes like, wait, Fuyumi? Which basically Sly, aka Ryuji, would say, no, this is just basically a cognitive version of herself. Basically is what your father's palace made. This is what he thinks of her. Which, basically, she looks over and goes like, the intruders who basically destroyed basically the connection to one of the locks for his highness. Not for his highness, for the shogun. Which, basically, that just basically confusing. And then she looks over and goes like, oh, you also have brought in her. How amusing. Which, basically, that kind of shocks her, Shoka. Which, basically, Deku just says, so, what do you have against your sister? Which goes, nothing. I'm actually kind of very surprised father didn't even try to do anything. Oh wait, no, I mean the Shogun. He's not my father, no matter how much he tries to be. which that just shocks basically Shoka, because she never ever heard her sister said this, but even though Ryuji says this ain't really her, this is just still shocking for her. So, in a sense, it's just, she can't believe it. So, why was it very simple? Izuku, well, Deku and Kirishima go up, but basically, Sophia is basically watching not Fumi, but, Shoka, and basically Ryuji go forward. And so, what happens is this. Basically, Hiroshima goes, "It doesn't matter what you basically say, he's still your father. Besides, we're just gonna basically destroy that basically kit chain and get to the Shogun." Which basically she just chuckles like, "You will try." And then she'll transform into, well, because of the palace is second, and technically they're kind of overpowered. So I am gonna say they are, well, I'm just gonna choose a random persona that's like in the 20s, like close to 30 range that I have. Let's just say it's a Sandman. So, basically, when they started to fight him, basically Shoko just sees basically Zuku's chain suddenly turn into basically, well, basically, I just need to try and remember the persona's name. Just give me a minute. Izanagi's weapon. And basically he will shout out, "Izanagi!" As when Izanagi appears, his whole entire arm on fire. Shoko is just worried and in shock, but then Sophia just says, "Don't worry, they will be fine about this. His mom, well, this basically shadow is very low compared to them." She's like, "How can you be so sure they're not going to die?" She goes, "Oh, easy. Basically, they're the Phantom Thieves." Well, we are actually, so we can't be defeated by mere, well, presence like this, which that just shocks them. But then Kirishima basically, wait, Captain Red? Yeah, I'm gonna need to double check that. Okay, yeah. So basically, he yells that out, Captain Red Tooth, and basically does a bufo, a boof attack, which technically should probably be the second version of it. Let me just find it. Alright. I just need to try to find the, well, name of it. So, but yeah. Don't need to worry, basically. So, when they find out Sandman is strong again, well, it's not affected by it, he's like, "Oh, come on!" And then, basically, Zuko would use his, yeah, it's Bufala. So, basically, Izuku wouldn't basically try to, well, but then try out with Izanagi, basically his, lightning attack, which I just need to try to find the level of it. Okay, give me a minute. Which basically they yell out, well, he yells out Zanaka, which it basically downs it. Which basically then, Sai says, "Good job! Now let's do an all-out attack," which they do. Because of basically their levels are basically higher than, than what it should be for this boss, well, by only a few, it doesn't really take it down easily, but then basically Kirishima brings out his, well, shotgun and basically shoots, basically, it doesn't really do nothing. Basically, they're thinking, well, basically Sly will say, "Okay, I think we're almost done with it. Finish it off, basically, Fang," which he just nods, and Kirishima goes with. And what happens is basically he changes basically into Orpheus Piccolo, and basically, which, well, because of that, he basically uses basically the second level of basically the fire attack. Um, yeah, I'm trying to rush this, so yeah, I can't find it. I'll find it eventually, but wait, I think I did. Yeah, Agalo, Agala, whatever, Agila, Lao, Agalo, which basically hits it, downs it, and basically they do double attack. For some reason, somehow, basically they just did it on instinct, and which all of a sudden the area changes around them. And what it is basically they're sort of like, and basically a like, how should I say this? It's basically like a little area where it's not like a forest and trees, but it's more like basically the sea, as both of them are together as lightning's happening, as they both run towards basically their enemy, which is Sandman, or Fuyumi's basically, look. And, well, they basically are attacking. Zuko basically goes in for a lightning, basically, slash, basically, Kirishima, but, just jumps basically off of Zuko's back. Basically, as when Zuko basically does the slash, he just, used the hammer that was encased in the lightning and basically hits basically, their enemy, and somehow in some way basically when they hits the ground it's like a lightning strikes downwards, basically making a big blast, and they're basically walking away as if they just high five each other, as basically all of a sudden just after it was done just finished. Which basically Izuku and Kirishima just look at each other like, how did we? Which basically Ryuji or Sly were like, okay, no time to explain, I'll tell you guys later. Now come on, let's get this basically over and done with. We don't have much time. Which they both nod. So when they find the second basically the key that was keeping the chain in place, it's basically, well, not a picture this time, but it's basically a toy, which basically, Shoko's like, that's my brother's toy, which they like, wait, Natsuo's? Which he nods. He was like, yeah, he basically, it's a toy basically of something basically his father got him, but my dad basically accidentally burned it a little, which Natsuo never forgave him for. He was only a kid, he said, but still. Which Kirishima's thinking, man, that kind of sucks. So basically, they proceed to go forward. They basically do defeat a couple more basically shadows along the way. Basically, gain basically a little more experience. Basically, becoming like 36 each now. So, and basically they kind of stopped because because they were nearby, which they're saying, who knows, maybe it'll be Natsuo and basically Toya then. Toya, well, basically they will hear basically a slight chuckle, which what they see is basically Toya, who's basically not wearing no samurai outfit or no ninja outfit because of, Shogun, Japanese, ancient time, but it's just like a normal basically outfit. He goes like, don't worry about me, I ain't gonna stop you, but I'm at least gonna help you. Which basically they can see basically it's not really Toya, but like the covenant version. Like, huh? What do you mean? He goes, which basically goes like, I'm tired of keeping this secret for a lot of things, so come on. Which they're like, wait, what secret? So they go over and they find basically Natsuo's shadow. Not shadow, but what, Endeavor feels basically what he, Natsuo's like. And he basically is like, I would say like a doctor-like outfit. And he's just like, huh. So, you're here to help out that you're here to see that monster. Which basically, Shoka's just in shock by it. This is how basically her father thinks of it. Thinks basically how they see him as. Which basically, she says, not to just stop. He's not a monster. He's been leaving us alone and basically haven't interfered with our lives. Which she's just finally saying that, just blurting it out because she can't hold it back for some weird reason. And he goes like, that monster doesn't deserve no sympathy from us. Don't you get it, little sis? Which, basically, she's in shock, and basically the conative version of Toya's not saying nothing. But he goes, which Naruto just goes on and on, basically how it is, which basically just start bringing down tears into Shoka's eye for some reason. And then basically she just tells him to stop basically insulting my father, which basically, before basically not to say anything that Shoka hears, he goes, so you finally accepted basically, in a female voice, finally accepted that basically you still care for him no matter what. And you basically have stopped running from your basically from your past, and have accepted it. Which, basically she's in shock, goes like, what, she doesn't understand why this is happening. And he goes, so, are you gonna keep running away from basically how you truly feel? And basically keep despising the man no matter what he does to you? She basically says, no, I'm not. Which, he goes, good, let us form this contract. Which, basically, it says, I am thou, thou art I. Basically, we shall be, basically, a force of nature that shall bring ice and heat, basically, to our enemies and everyone around us. Call my name. Basically, with Shoka was just basically grabbing her head, basically, Quirk was activating. As then I need to make sure I have the name right, because I'm combining the two basically Japanese kanjis for ice or cold, and then say heat, or ice and fire. So give me a minute. So basically, then she yells out basically Korika, as basically a persona that appears, which is basically, how would I say, it's not like Yosuke, it's not like basically samurai, not like a samurai, not like a shogun, like with basically, the way it was, if you look up his persona. I would say it has a more elegant look, basically, of the shinobi, and basically it has like fire pattern and ice pattern along the basically as combined into one. Which basically after she's awakening, which Natsuo goes like, so you betrayed me. Doesn't matter. I'll basically defeat you, so basically no one can basically bring out that monster. That monster. As then he transforms into basically his shadow look, which I would say is a Araba. Decabraba? It's basically a starfish with an eye in it. On it. So yeah, wait, I need to check something real quick. Okay, everyone, I am technically, not in my room no more. I'm downstairs because I wanted to check to see if my dad was going to do anything. He was going to make dinner. I had to make my own. So, yeah, I can only make this an hour long because I have to, get ready for work. So, that's why I'm in kind of a rush. But anyways, so yeah, so it's a Dorida. Wait, basically the giant starfish with an eyeball in the middle of it. So basically, basically she just basically says, it doesn't matter if you are real or basically not real. I'm not gonna let you basically disrespect basically our father no more. And so basically, I know it's not basically fire and ice. Basically, basically weakness. I know it's basically strength. So in a sense, well, not strength, but physical attack. So in a sense, basically, it's taken down relatively quickly. So because of basically this, though, we technically would have to have basically them leave. But since basically they can't leave right away because of they have to basically go and basically make a do the whole entire basically card and everything. Because the next day, it is basically one of those things. So they also have to find a route to see what's the most treasured item that the Shogun has. So, in a sense, basically, after they finish taking down it, we basically, Izuku asks basically, Shoka, what's her level? She says level 33, was level 30, you know, was level 32. So he doesn't, well, he would nod to that. So he's like, anyways, we gotta get going. Which Shoka's like, no, we have to keep going. I need to find out the truth. Which basically, all of a sudden, before anyone can say anything, the cognitive version of Toya, is all of a sudden, gives her back all of her energy. Which is like, wait, what the? And he goes, well, again, like you basically, go around and go around and leave. Now, come on. Grab the key and let's get going. So, in a sense, they grab it, and it's something from, well, it's basically 2 rings, which are basically engagement rings, which, everyone knows. So, after that, the last basically chain disappears as, they saying now we can, basically go to the jail and figure out what's the, his treasure. So, basically Sly would say, okay, Ryuji, which basically everyone nods. So, but Toyo's like, before that, come on, this way. So they go, traveling. There's no shadows anywhere, which is very weird. And what happens is, when they basically get to the area that, he wanted to, it's basically a study room. Or, well, the library, in the say. Which, basically, they're all confused, and which, basically, Toya basically goes over and grabs basically a book was sitting on the table, and so he basically throws over to basically Shoka. He's like, "You should read that if I were you. Give me a minute." Okay, which Shoka is confused along with everyone, so they start reading it, and basically it describes when Endeavor, met All Might, how this session started, and basically his constantly wanted to become number 1, and basically how it affected his firstborn, and then his basically neglection of, his other 2 at first, and then basically he goes on to explain how basically his son basically didn't, safety was in danger, that desire for, to become number 1 faded and more protecting his kid. And then, when Toya asked him to basically come visit him, he basically had to save someone, because they said they were going to kill basically this family's mom. But after Endeavor basically calmly talked to the person and made them basically not try to, he found out that because of his villainous quirk, he couldn't get another job. He wasn't fired, he went bankrupt, and he couldn't get another job. Basically, his wife left him, and that, she took their kid away, and it's just because of all this happiness, he just couldn't take it and just wanted basically to lash out. So because of that, the guy didn't really go to jail. He just was in prison for a couple of days. The police. And basically got some help. And basically, because of that, though, Toyo did have an outburst. But instead of basically Toyo being taken by, all for one, basically he, Endeavor ran into the fire, did not care for his safety, only cared for his kid, and saved him, but got burns on his body. Toyo still had his hair and skin and all of that, but it was just, Endeavor was mostly hurt, and, hold up. Okay, like I said, Endeavor was the one who only got burned, and basically talked about then how Toyo was, and that basically Endeavor didn't basically go home because he was staying at the hospital. Basically, always the Fuyumi and Natsuo didn't, they knew that their father were out and that their basically brother was in the hospital, and they see when they go see, they just saw basically Endeavor there, not basically, doing anything, just watching Toya. Which, for some reason, basically Natsuo told him to say something as a kid, but he wasn't saying nothing, so this is kind of when basically, I think, Shoko kind of realizes that they basically were thinking that he didn't care for their, brother, so, in a sense, though, they only came to visit only sometimes because their mom had to watch over them. They had to go to school, but Endeavor didn't care about his hero work. He said he stayed there no matter what. It took Toya to wake up from 3 days later. Well, not 3 days, from like a week, not a week, 3 weeks for him to wake up. And right when basically Toya woke up, he basically saw his father there, basically not only sleeping, which he's like, he just was, well, basically he doesn't know how Toya felt, but Toya woke him up, and when he woke up, he didn't hug Toya. He was about to, but then stopped and hesitated, which Toya saw, and basically saying that then how basically the family came in and thanked them, for saving them on Christmas. Well, basically before, well, almost near Christmas, which Toya asked, "What do you mean?" So they kind of explained to Toya, which he was shocked by, saying, thinking his father didn't, did care, wasn't gonna come visit. He just had to stop, some villain. And basically, he asked him, were you really coming to see me?" And then Endeavor said, "Yes, I was. I got off early. I was coming over to see you, but I had to stop. Basically a person from become, normal civilian to become a villain." So, yeah. After that, basically Endeavor made sure Toya. The book then goes on to explain how basically Endeavor basically was trying to help Toya basically figure out what's wrong with him and such, and they found out, but basically Shoko was wondering why Toya left. So, because of everything that was going on with basically his mom, basically Endeavor's wife and Shoka's mom, and not Toya's and, well, Fumi's, about the mental health. Basically, it was because one day, when this mental health problem started, basically, he started talking about how Toya, basically, his wife basically started and tried to attack Toya. Basically, and that, basically, Toya got hurt real badly, so, and it's, basically, Toya didn't feel safe around the home no more. But he did find out the reason why. Is basically there was going to be these episodes because of something in her brain that's causing it to happen. So basically, he then writes in, Toya doesn't blame his mother, but I feel like, it has something to do with me and ways of how I trained Toya. Because they said it could have been due to too much stress, worry, basically fear. So, and basically, so Endeavor blames himself for that, and blames himself for his wife, even for his son, which basically then it just keeps on going on, saying how he asked basically Aizawa to adopt Toya and everything, and Toya basically, didn't want to go, but Endeavor said it's for his safety, he has to, and yeah. So then she realized that's why Toya's not living with them no more. Basically, then he says how Natsuo Fumi blames him for it. What Natsuo blames him for, which basically Fumi doesn't say anything, but, looking in her eyes says it all for him, to view him as a monster. So he decided to, try to help his wife the best he can. He took time off more, spent time with her and everything, and then the whole entire accident with Shoka, basically, it was due to her actually that episode coming back. So, she basically, hold up. So, I mean by Shoko finally realized it's due to her mom's mental state was, that's the reason why that happened. That's why she was trying to use her ice court to heal her. Because it wasn't really her, it was her mind that basically made her see whatever. And then he talks about how he had to put her into this mental hospital that they found for her if this ever happened again. And so that would, give all the treatments. So basically, then it goes on how basically he, saying that again, how he blamed himself for everything, for his power, for him basically wanted to become power hungry and tries to basically make his children become, one of his children become the number one, basically to beat All Might, be better than him. He basically realized that because of all of this, basically this has happened, his family has been broken. So it then writes in saying he will basically stay on the sidelines, watching them from afar, keeping his distance because he doesn't want to break up his family anymore. Which Shoka is basically shocked. Oh yeah, forgot to mention. Shoka is basically a look. Imagine it's like her persona. The fire, there's like fire, basically symbols on one side, ice symbols on the other side of the shirt, basically combined in one, making like a blizzard of fire and snow. Alright, fire and ice. Give me a minute. Okay, so like I was saying, yeah, the shirt kind of go like in the middle, kind of shows like a lot of fire and ice combined that makes like a blizzard type of both fire and ice, and that it basically looks like it's also burned in some areas, like on the there's like no sleeve, well basically a little bit of the sleeve, but it looks like it's burned, and even on the left side looks like, I mean not the left side, the right side where the ice is, just looks like basically it's basically frost over. Basically pants, not so basically much, and basically they're not ripped, but they're somewhat pretty loose. But she does have basically some, not chains, but basically just like some spikes around the knees and everything. Only like little tiny ones, basically just regular. I would say just basically just not boots, but not whatever. And everyone's gonna have boots. Yeah, everyone's gonna have boots because. Also, I'm trying to think what works. Probably sneakers too. Yeah, some black sneakers on. Basically, hair. Um, she has long hair, so I guess braid, but I don't know. I didn't really come up for the look for her that well. All I'm basically trying to pick up basically on the spot. But definitely, basically the persona is, well, around her basically left arm, tattooed. So, yeah. Which, basically, after she keeps on reading how basically he's there basically when Natsuo and basically Fumi, became a doctor and a, teacher, he was very proud of them. And basically then it was like a latest entry how he's afraid that Shoka is gonna get hurt, that basically he may be seen cold to her, but he's very worried that they may come after her by getting through her and everything, and he doesn't want that, so he wants to basically to try and basically protect her by even if it means she will hate him. So when she realizes this, yeah, which basically Izuku asks, "Why you?" Which basically he goes, "Well, as you read, basically or may have skimmed over, basically he shows the page where why Toya became an underground hero is to help his dad out, both Aizawa and Endeavor, and be there for Endeavor more than basically to help him with his stability." Because Toya did say he's worried for his sanity or his mental state. So yeah. So anyways, so after that, basically after Shoka stops crying and all, I don't know the name. I try to think of a name for her, maybe like Arctic. For now, it's just for now basically along the after basically realize it, they basically start running to the top floor, trying to see basically where was the treasure, and basically Jaw saying, "Hey, what codename should we give her?" Basically, Zuko, aka Fane, says, "Maybe Arctic." I mean, that's best if I can come up around the spot. It's better than basically Candy Cane. Which basically Shoko's like, yeah, it's better than that. Which basically, well, Ryuji, aka basically Sly, says, "Yeah, it is. Enough talk, let's go." So basically, and Sophia just says, "Right." So basically, they just go, and they get to the top floor. Now, what happens is though the top floor basically is just because the treasure basically is there, but the Shogun is there just writing writing on a paper with ink, and he's like, "Ah, I see. So the intruders have finally come to basically here for me," which basically this kind of shocks them. Basically looks forward. He's like, "Well, I will not fight you today unless basically you come after me and my family." Which basically they're in shocking. Which basically Shoka's like, well, not Shoka, but Kirishima's like, "Wait, are you gonna fight us?" He goes, "There's no point in fighting basically a battle that's not, but has no point to it." Which basically Izuku gives Ryoji a look, which he says, "This never happened before." Which basically see right behind him, basically a treasure, the glowing, basically nothing like nothing there. Which basically Sophia's like, "This is very confusing." Which before anything else can happen, the Shogun just gets up, he's like, "Leave now and never return. I'm very busy." So he gets up and walks basically to his, main room. So Izuku says, "Let's get going." And, basically they leave. So, okay. So what happens is this. So after that, basically, they're basically like, Izuku's arm back at his head is like, "So we got a pathway and a route, but..." Which basically Ryuji says, "I know, but basically he let us go without a fight. But the treasure was there, so we had to make a calling card." Which basically they look at Shoka like, "Are you alright, Shoka?" Which basically, Shoka Todoroki's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just reading from my dad's book is an eye-opener, Which they nod. So, basically, Izuku has his phone out with Sophia. It's like, "Either way, we have to basically finish the mission before tomorrow. We're basically on only 2 deadline here." Sorry to be mean to that, which basically Izuku's like, "No, you're right." So, which basically Shoka's like, "So how do we do this?" It's like, "Well, first off, we gotta make the calling card." Luckily for me, basically, the person who basically made the calling card gave us blank ones and made us, so we can always write down on it. Which she's like, "Wait, who gave us it?" "Well, you it." He goes, which basically Kirishima goes like, "Oh, Yosuke." Which basically she's like, "Wait, you mean the famous artist?" Which, basically, basically Izuku, Kirishima, and basically Ryuji nods along with Sophia. But she's like, "Wow." So, yeah. So, anyways. So basically, Kirishima saying, "Well, I have with me, Shoko. We can basically write on it. And besides, we do have basically that project that's still due." Which she's like, "Crap. Yeah. We had to finish it up quickly." Basically, and, Izuku says, "Yeah, I got multiple projects I gotta come up with, so let's get this done with." So basically, they thought of basically what to say, and, what happens is, when Endeavor went in for the mail, basically he saw the calling card. Basically says, "The Phantom Thieves of Heart." So basically he turns it around, basically says, "Dear Endeavor, pro hero, we basically are here because we are trying to rid you of basically your guilt and sadness. Basically to reunite you with your family. To and show you basically the light that basically what you've done and everything that has been happening is not your fault. And to rid basically the self-notion of thinking that you are a monster of yourself. So we shall take basically your heart and show you basically a better light." Which basically when Kirishima asked her, "Is that really what you wanted?" She nods. which Endeavor, just because of that, that other persona version, his cognitive version of himself, sees this, he goes like, so not leave me alone, and basically it will harm my family. Then they have chosen basically a path of destruction. So yeah, so after basically that, Endeavor basically came in, Shoko sees the card and he burns it. Basically she's like, are you alright? Which is just kind of a little bit shocked, and he goes like, yes, I'm fine. I'll be basically in the dojo. He basically walks away, which she texts them saying he saw it, and I saw the reaction of it, which basically they, say, alright, we gotta make, this quick. So, in a sense, I did forget to mention they did find some safe rooms. So, what happens is very simple. They basically get to the top where it was based before the Shogun's room. And when they get up there, the Shogun's there basically in armor and such, and he goes like, so you have chosen to face me. I basically warned you, basically, if you basically try to fight me, it means that you're trying to harm my family. Well, you're trying to harm my family, I'll fight you, but same exact thing. Which basically Shoko says, we're basically gonna rid you of basically your sadness and darkness, and show you basically nothing you did was your fault. So, in a sense, the Shogun says, enough. So, and, will transform into basically his shadow form, basically, and it looks like a monstrous, version of this, of him as in armor, as in on fire. I have to make this quick because I need to eat and I need to basically, So, in a sense, basically, because, Shoko basically has ice and basically, along with Kirishima, basically they're able to take it down pretty quickly. Izuku and basically Ryuji are able to basically do support, lower his defense, and everything, and even have him basically at a standoff saying, he said, don't you see? I'm trying to keep my family safe by being cold and distant. Everything basically that has ever happened anytime I try to be close to them, everything breaks apart. Which basically Shoko saying, that's not true. Stop blaming yourself and open up your eyes. And so, they basically fight. Basically they did all out attack that weakened him a bit. They continued doing this exact same thing until basically Izuku would basically bring out Orifice Piccolo, and the chain would change into basically the harp and, bash into, his chain wouldn't change into Orifice Piccolo from him, his harp, as he jumped up and grabbed it and smacked it into Endeavor, as then threw it back to Orifice Piccolo and told him to catch, as then he used basically fire, which basically he's resistant to, which didn't really do that much damage, but then that gave basically a opening for basically Shoka to do an attack with Bufu, or Bufula, second level strength, which basically brought it down him pretty good, which knocks him downwards, makes him go on his knee, and basically they do an all-out attack again, and this time I was able to finish the job. So Hiroshima and Ryuji go over and grab basically the treasure, which was just basically you can say a katana, basically engraved with many things on it, and basically they take it, come over, which he's like, oh, I failed again. Which Shoko goes over, just puts her hand on his shoulder, goes, you didn't fail. You fought like you always would. But please, stop blaming yourself. You didn't do nothing wrong. Everything you've done, there's some things that could have been done better, but keeping yourself distance from your family isn't going to help. Just please, come back to your family. Explain everything to them. Tell them why everything happened. Show them basically your journal. Just stop keeping yourself distance from them. Open up. Which he's just, blinking and just sighs like, alright. I took the coward's way out. Which she says, you took a way out anyone else would. That things basically they were the cause of everything. Just stop blaming yourself, alright? Which he nods, he goes like, thank you. as the palace starts to rumble, palace and jail starts to rumble, which Ryuji says, "We gotta get going." Which, she gets up and about to run, but she takes one look back. He just goes back and basically bows to her. Well, she looks back and sees that he's bowing to her, and basically she just smiles and they run off. So basically, because they would get out very quickly by taking the window because of how old basically houses were, palaces were for the shoguns. It was like there was like always like a step downwards and not step downwards, able to go down very quickly if you really think about it. So they took it that way. So yeah, so after that they basically see palace was basically was lost, nothing more, which he just sighs. Izuku's like, okay, that was close. So, Kirishima, what was there? Which basically he sees, he's holding something. He's like, an album? Which Shoko's like, huh? Which basically, she opens it up and it's just a picture of basically Toya and everything else. Which her eyes went, this is an album my mom destroyed. Which basically they're like, huh? It's when she attacked Toya. My brother or sister said Toya had an album, and for some reason they said Mom destroyed it. He told them before he left. It's all of these memories, and basically she sees their newer memories of where Natsuo became was becoming a doctor. Well, went to school for a doctor and basically became one, and basically Fume becoming a teacher. Endeavor basically isn't, these are mental memories of Endeavor's happy moments with them, without them knowing. So her eyes wide and tears coming down, and she basically, holds it close to her chest, and basically, and this furthermore proves that he always cared for them. So yeah. So in a sense, basically Zuko smiles and all that, and he goes, "Come on, guys, let's have our moment." Which basically they nod. So she basically says she wants to come with. She doesn't want to go in the house just in case. So yeah. So in a sense, they say they go back to LeBlanc, where Zuko lives. And well, basically, how can I remember her name? So Futaba asks how did it went, which basically Shoko shows basically the photo album, which basically she explains why it's so precious, was a treasure, to Endeavor, or could have been. So basically Futaba understood, and so she goes, "Oh, good job. Now you just have to see basically by tomorrow or something happens." All right, which basically she not saying she asks if she can basically they can stay a while, have a celebration. Which just all right. I can know a few people that would like to come over. So she calls up basically Rem. I think that was the name of the Persona 5 protagonist. Basically Ryuji, Human, and Yosuke. Basically Makoto and basically Haru. Over because and also Morgana's there. Basically they also call you and basically Persona 4 second character Persona 4 Yosuke, teacher sensei with daggers and teacher you with swords. Alright? Yeah, they all came over, along with basically the doctor from Persona 5. That's basically Tai Tamaki, Tai A.E. Tai Tamaki basically, she basically came over, celebrate. So after that, basically Zuko helps, takes Shoko back home with Sojiro, not Sojiro, with Futaba driving, but she says, "Thank you for everything, Zuko." He goes, "We're classmates and friends for." She just nods and like, "So, you joining us?" Which she does think about and goes, "Yeah, seems like it's gonna be fun." So, basically. So what's next? Well, he goes, don't know yet. Anyways, gotta get going home. Take care. She goes, night. She goes, right. And night. Thank you again. Which he does not, and they leave. So right when basically she enters the home, basically Endeavor, you see her opening, runs out with a worried look, and he's like, Shoka, are you okay? Is everything alright? Are you hurt? Which, he's checking her, looking at her basically, and she goes, I'm fine, Dad, I'm fine. Just basically Natsuo and Fumi are like, Shoka, which they're just seeing Endeavor really worried, and she goes, Dad, why are you acting so different? Which he just sighs and says, I guess I should tell you everything. And that's where I'm going to leave it off, everyone. Hope you guys have a nice day, night, wherever you are, and bye. I gotta basically eat and get ready for work.